Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I have with me the young 20-something father Pixel. And tonight's movie, of course, we're going to be dissecting is the Russell Crowe Vespa driving Exorcist Pope that almost reminds me of something Marvel and DC would put out today, Pixel, because I got to tell you, Russell Crowe, I'll see anything in him, but the Pope's Exorcist is actually got some good scenes into it. It's a horror movie, but I think Crowe's having a great time. And this is one of those average films that's elevated by a guy that's clearly having a good time with it. And Russell Crowe, love the guy. I thought this was a fun film here too. And I'm wondering if they're going to make a sequel. This is something, there's enough meat on the bone where they could have done a Netflix series, which one day I hope Russell Crowe will do. Like this film, I enjoyed it a lot. It's pretty damn good. What's your initial take?
I went to it last week, saw it on the big screen. And I wasn't sure what exactly to expect. With of course the movie going ahead and having an Exorcist, and you fully expect, okay, you're just trying to make a callback towards The Exorcist. No, this has something really there to it. You're right. It has some meat that it could definitely explore down the line. And Russell Crowe, you're right. He had a great time.
Now, with Russell Crowe, everybody knows him from Gladiator, Beautiful Mind, a bunch of other things too. To me, he's one of those man's man type of actors. Is a throwback. I think he's one of the last few ones that are out there. So whenever he takes a different role at his age, I think he's just a lot more soft around the edges. Not in a bad way. I think he's mature enough where he understands that, hey, I can just stare at the screen for a split second, give you a serious look, do my best actor in the world impersonation, and that's great. Because I got to tell you, going back to the 70s when you talk about exorcism and movies, the Catholics have a stranglehold on this kind of stuff more so than any other religion, at least stateside, we'll say. And okay, the Exorcist, how can you top something that's nearly perfect? Well, you can have something like the Omen trilogy, which we have yet to cover here on the Extreme Movie Show. Fantastic movie there. Really kind of creepy. Got to tell you, there's something about Satanism and occult stuff and all this nonsense from the 70s and 80s that, man, when it's done good, it hits the right vibe. Why don't you take a moment and set up the scene for what the movie's supposed to be about and lead us into some of the things that caught your eye? And let's just dive right in.
All right. Well, the movie is supposed to be about, of course, Father Amorth. Gabriel Amorth, who is the Pope's exorcist. We start out as he's performing this exorcism in this little hovel.
A favela, if you will.
Yes. And he goes ahead and he puts on, as he later calls it, a show, and puts the demon into the pig, and then they kill the pig right then and there. And this gets him in trouble with the church. Something's going on. The church is not happy with Amorth's dealings. They think that all this hoodoo is not worth their time anymore. The church is reaching a modern age. We have to be seen by these modern eyes, and this is just ridiculous. And Amorth, he's not having it. He's like the cool exorcist, the cool father. Though actually reading up a little bit about him, he's a little bit silly. But
yeah.
That's another matter, though. In the movie, at least, he seems like well-rounded, nice guy. However, we're cutting between this and a cathedral in Spain that's pretty much just disheveled. It's falling apart. But a mother from America and her two kids are going because her now dead husband,
of course, single mom syndrome.
But she is going to fix it up and sell it so that way they have money. Because no one in their right minds wants to live in the cathedral.
I disagree. I just thought, how's she going to afford the taxes on it? But you know what? She probably could have. It's just one of those weird things where it's so absurd, it doesn't make sense. So you just ignore it and you go, well, it still probably would work. What the hell? Just watch it. The fact that they ignore that is good. It allows you to kind of take seriously what the hell's going on here.
Yes. So as they are digging in, this old abbey which I remember the word, thankfully. Uh, this old abbey has some problems. There's like some really dark looking stuff in here, and deep below there's a little crack, and in that crack you can go ahead and see a seal from the Vatican. What could this be? They decide, let's go ahead and touch it. Uh, not really, but they go ahead and use a flare to try to get a better look, and it blows up, harms two guys and the construction crew. They leave, and this is when Henry, that's the boy's name, who went down there the day before and tried to stick his hand in the crack, he starts acting funny. So they go ahead, they do the normal, oh, well, there's nothing medically wrong with him. He could just be psychotic, but they know there's something more. And so they go ahead and the boy finally, as he's like, "Give me the priest," rips off his own face. That's an exaggeration. He claws his own face. They call their local priest and he pushes him back spiritually. And that's when they know they need to go higher up.
When he goes one-on-one with the Pope, I'm staring at the Pope and I'm wondering to myself, we talk about Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe can play kind of a redneck trash sort of guy in Unhinged or whatever like that, which I thought was a really fun movie, and I just thought Crowe was fantastic in it. His physique's changed over the years. He's an older guy now, and I think he's embraced it, and I think he's a guy that can still do a lot of great things acting. So it reminds me of the movie Conan, and hearing me out for a second with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's this. And this is why we talk about stuff on Extreme Movie Show. We make these weird out-of-the-blue connections. I was thinking about recently a gentleman who had passed away. His name is William Smith. He's a guy that at your young 20-something age probably don't recall at all, but he was Conan's father who gives him the Riddle of Steel speech at the beginning. This is a guy that was in probably 200-300 different things between movies and TVs. Usually he's a bad guy. He was the fist fight guy in one of those Clint Eastwood movies, In Which Way You Can or whatever. If you watch TV at all in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you've seen this guy hundreds of times. You know who the hell I'm talking about. Big, strong dude, just a mean-looking bastard, handsome fellow. And why is this important? Well, we talk about manliness and roles and all that. When we say Russell Crowe, this feels like he literally is a man in here because he's got an assistant who he has to kind of be a mentor towards, which is kind of there's some humor in this movie just between those two, and I think they have good chemistry. But the thing about it is who can you play the Pope? I mean, it's the fucking Pope, right? Jesus Christ, the head of the Catholic Church, allegedly. And they have a guy, and I'm staring at him going, I know who this motherfucker is. And then it hit me. If this is only a canon film, it would be a canon classic because it's played by Franco Nero, who's in the second best ninja movie of all time, Revenge of the Ninja from the canon films. That's hard not to laugh saying this, but I'm looking up, I'm like, this guy's piercing, eyes and just good looks. He's an Italian guy. And I'm like, yes, it's great to see older people that have done a lot that can be in different roles. William Smith and Conan. Here you've got Franco Nero. And we're looking at Russell Crowe going, God, he's old. He's like 60 or whatever. And you go, he's still got 20, 25 years to make movies as long as his health holds out. And again, it's just one of those little touches that make this movie better. And if you don't know who he is, that's okay. But most people are like, yeah, it's a Pope. Who cares? It's a minor character. We're going to focus on Russell Crowe, who's an old guy anyway. But for me, an older guy watching this film, I popped when I saw him too. But of course, Russell Crowe's smart enough to know that, something's not exactly on the up and up here. There's a conspiracy of sorts, if you will, in the Catholic Church that this movie starts to unravel. And of course, we see these two relatively hot chicks, the mom and the daughter, getting possessed and back and forth stuff. And it's done well because, again, you cannot improve upon the original necessarily, but what they do is they flip the script and they have the young boy, to your point, is the one that gets possessed. And I think it's done well. I know it's not believable in a sense if you don't buy it stuff, but in terms of watching it, it makes sense. You're not completely going, oh, this is complete bullshit. It needs a lot of practical effects, which is good. And some of the shots here of the house or the castle, whatever the hell you want to call it, this rundown old building that they're trying to restore a little bit, I like how there's a mystery to the house that you're trying to unravel in addition to this potential exorcism and potential Catholic conspiracy. So your mind's going crazy because some of these scenes where they're walking around and they're by themselves, I'm like, this is shot incredibly well. It makes you feel like it's a horror movie. Not There's no such thing as horror comedy, I always like to say, because if it's funny, it's not scary. And in here, you definitely get some of these scenes. And that, to me, despite what this movie may be rated, a lot of people seem to like it and enjoyed it and had a good time with it. And again, watching it, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, no, and I like we said, Russell Crowe. We say that he's having a great time with us. He's also he's so engaging in this role. He's so like he's quick-witted too. His humor is great.
Right, he's sharp. And he's on
but
point.
it's not a comedy like you said. It keeps it light enough that it feels like, oh well, an average guy could crack these. But what I really like is actually his relationship with the other priest, the one that we said got thrown earlier, because this is a younger guy, and the two of them working together, I felt like it was good. They were a good team. Yeah.
You know, how do I say it? When they're talking, you know, his character's written books, and so he makes a comment about how they're pretty good and this and that. So he's kind of popping himself here a little bit. But when he just like walks into the room, you know, it's all about him and the way the camera shoots him, like taking off the hat or turning around or being smart, where he's thinking 2 steps ahead, in that old stupid phrase of playing chess while everyone's playing checkers. I hate it, but I'm thinking, oh, he's eating this shit up. I like that. It's appropriately doing what the scene calls for. So you get like a little wink and a nod, a little sparkle in your eye with some of the scenes. But then when he's talking to his assistant, you're like, I believe you, Russell Crowe, because Russell Crowe came up to me and said, Extreme Movie Show, you must not, whatever you do, look into his eyes, or something like that. I would believe him, right? I mean, and you get that sense of fun in here with them. All right, so we get a few scenes of him driving the Vespa and really important things, transition scenes or whatever, before we get back to what's going on here. Let's talk a little bit about the well and how the movie kind of wraps up a bit.
Yeah, because I want to go ahead and talk about the sets too. So in this abbey, there is an underground there's a hidden underground room where that seal was that we were talking about. They're able to get through that through the well. Like we said, there's this well that you can see up there. It's been closed off, and there's a seal on it, another seal of the Vatican. But why? So on the Vespa, he goes ahead and pulls it off, and what do you see but a bunch of freaking skulls? Yeah. So they go ahead down to go ahead and see what's happening down here. What is locked away? And inside, you see these corpses lining the walls. You see this one in the center in a cage who was a priest as well. And then this one figure off in the distance. And as he's going around, he's piecing it together, and they go into this cavernous chamber after with some what is it called? The box that's shaped like a woman, and you go ahead and you just stick the oh god, the words are leaving me. Sorry.
Their description's more entertaining than the answer, but keep going.
You got to know the name. Come on.
I want to hear you. I want to hear you struggle.
Son of a bitch. Anyway, yes, shaped like a woman, face of a woman. You go ahead and you close a body in it, and you stick it with a bunch of steel, not knives, but yeah.
Tomb.
Well, no, tomb. Tomb. I know the word tomb. I know the word crypt. That's not the torture device's name.
The Iron Maiden.
The Iron Maiden. Thank God. Well, not thank God. Clearly, that place is cursed right there.
You do not see Iron Maidens as torture devices, and unfortunately, that's a negative in today's modern movie making, because you would see him occasionally in the really B-level films, you know, the Italian, I always forget how you pronounce it, Gallo films or this or that occasionally. I'm like, that's fucking creepy just walking by that stuff. You know,
Mhm.
anybody can get sacrificed on an altar. That's not terrifying, but an Iron Maiden, that freaks you out a little bit.
Yep. And across from that, with this little pond in the middle, there's a throne, and sitting on top of it, they piece it together. Uh, and it leads all the way back into the Spanish Inquisition. Uh, the
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. It seems that Asmodeus, the king of hell, uh, once took control of the one responsible for the Spanish Inquisition, the exorcist responsible for it, who was an expert in demonology, all this, but it was because he was in fact possessed by Asmodeus, and his plan is coming clear. There's a reason why he wants Amorth there. He wants to create a second Inquisition because no one expects the Spanish Inquisition twice.
This is so funny. And I just want to add one thing that I thought was cool about all this, not history building or world building, because you gotta care about the characters a little bit first. Everything else is kind of secondary, generally speaking. And I think when you get away from that, you violate it. And so again, they're trying to do some stuff here, and it all fits. That's the thing about it. They're not trying to force any one thing. Whenever you have horror, I think one of the key elements that we don't really hear a lot about is when you have something that's, you know, romantic horror, like say Phantom of the Opera or those types of horror things that became popular, is there's a sense of real world in them too, and all that. But when you have something like with religion, you tie it into things that have happened before, whether or not you believe in religion or demons or God or the devil or anything, I don't think it's really relevant. But when something's transpired supposedly over hundreds of years like that, and there's human records of people battling against it, it gives you a sense of, you know, it's bigger than what you are, and therefore a little bit more horrific. I mean, as absurd as like say Rosemary's Babies is, the premise is still done effective because again, you've got people that are following along in a certain lines, and without saying too much about it, it makes sense for modernizing it. And here, it's so ludicrous the way you're saying it, but it's fun.
Yeah, no,
A
it is fun.
second Spanish Inquisition.
That's right. And Brewer, it's not a comedy, but when you're watching it, it's
You're
great.
chuckling.
Talking about it is what's funny.
Yeah.
Uh, but when you're watching it, it looks amazing. And when they get to the end where it becomes this CGI fight against Asmodeus, even then the CGI looks really good. They use the Iron Maiden, but they don't kill anybody with it, sadly. And it opens up. You can see their sins are, well, their sins. What they see is their guilt. Their main guilt in life is what's haunting them with, well, blood and stuff and naked ladies all around. What's not to love?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That scene that I described at the beginning and how it is described by Amorth. Oh, that wasn't really an exorcism with the pig and all. He wasn't really possessed. It was just a bit of a show.
Exactly.
It was to go ahead and convince him. You know, you go ahead, yeah. I wish I had the exact line because the way he said it is how I thought this movie was going to end. I thought it was going to have a dark ending.
Right.
Because he says pretty much, well, you go ahead and you have to have a little bit of an animal there, an animal sacrifice for special effects, you know? And that's what I thought all of this at the end was. All of this was not for Amorth. It was for Father Esquibel. And Father Amorth was actually going to be revealed to be possessed by Asmodeus, the king of hell. And whenever, after they're done, they go back to Rome and they're, oh, well, now we have this underground map to go ahead and lead us to 199 other cursed abbeys for you to go ahead and fight these other demons that fell, the angels that fell from heaven. We have the other sites, and you can stop him. I thought it was going to be a dark turn where it was going to be revealed that Amorth was actually Asmodeus still, and this was going to lead to him raising a hell army, or at least hint towards that.
Because you get Russell Crowe trying to like whack himself,
Yes.
so he won't be possessed.
You think I'm going to let you do that?
And then you have, the ending part to me. I thought, is this a guilty pleasure of mine? Is and I never read the books or the graphic novels were like that, but Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is so stupidly ludicrous, but the guy plays him really serious, and it's just outlandish. But I like that intertwining of history with the historical figure and secret societies. I'm a marking sucker for those things if they're done well. And here I just thought, hey, this is kind of cool. It's like they can go off and it's like a National Treasure / Indiana Jones thing where they're going to go around to these different holy places and kill demons. Yeah. It's so stupid.
But it's fun. My brother said this could be a game.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it is.
They think it is a stupid map. I'm like, oh shit. They're not just going with the okay, will he or won't he be possessed at the end? Will we get the he really is, even though no demon walking off, clicking his heels like I won. Nothing that we've seen before. It's fun.
It is just fun, and that's really good. It's good that it ends how it ends. I was very happy with that. I think that this was really a delight. Like by the end of it, I'm trying to remember what else I watched that night. But they were all really good movies. But the Pope's Exorcist was definitely great. Yeah, no. If you are on the fence, go ahead, fall off the fence on the right side, where it's nice and green and bloody and demons are walking the earth. Wait a minute.
I'll definitely be watching it again, just because it's fun, it's entertaining,
and you want a better view.
Made money. So I don't know how Russell Crowe feels about sequels. I definitely think they could do something. If they don't, they don't. But it's one of those movies like Megan that came out earlier this year that Megan knew exactly what it was. People want to call it a female Chucky and this and that. I don't really look at it that way. People want to get triggered about how it's a warning to single moms, how they can't raise their kids accurately and how you're supposed to and all that. And I just go, I get that they wrote that in there. And again, this would be pretty average level writing, back in the day. Now it might be considered smart because I think the average writing level has gone down. But this movie knows exactly what it is. It's just like I said, Megan or anything else. And it benefits. I know I mentioned Franco Nero earlier, but the fact that Russell Crowe's enjoying it. The rest of the crews, for the most part, I think nobodies. I think the two women that was shot on location in a couple places. So it looks nice. And the cinematography is good. And again, movies are visual, so if a movie sucks but it's very visual, like 2001, which a lot of people go, yeah, it felt really epic, but it was kind of boring, or trippy. I get it. It's worth watching, and I like what your comment was there, that if you're on the fence, chance it on this one. There's other ones that I said don't even bother, like Renfield. I know we're different on that, but it's just what you think you'll enjoy. And Russell Crowe doing Russell Crowe stuff is 1,000 times better than Nick Cage not even doing Nick Cage stuff anymore. So yeah, I mean, could you imagine Nick Cage in here, doing that? Oh my God. Russell Crowe's done the serious and dramatic stuff enough where he can kind of lighten up a little bit, but then still, tighten the noose a little bit and get serious when it's called for. And I think we've seen that with him in like The Nice Guys and like in this film. Obviously I mentioned Unhinged, where all he has to do is just stare at you and all this and that. I thought, man, for a movie that cost, I think, about $20 million to make, it's about tripled it. So it's made a profit. Obviously, Crowe probably didn't take a huge salary for it compared to what he could have probably gotten or whatever. So 2-3 months to film I'm looking at here right now. This is the type of way to make movies. Get decent people, get solid writing into it. You don't have to break the bank on it. You can make several of these. This was fun, surprisingly. I was going to it going, I didn't really know what to expect with Russell Crowe as whatever, but I went because it was Russell Crowe, and I was not disappointed.
I was looking for anything to go ahead and that was talking about a sequel, and Polygon has an article. The Pope's Exorcist teases 199 sequels, and I would watch every single one of them.
Well, the way review sites are today, it's really hard to get a fair thing because a lot of them like to say news. The news of the sequel is there might be one because it's dot
Yeah,
dot dot, and it's really not news. It's speculation, which is not news. And we'll see what happens for it. It's got all the ingredients that can be made, but if not, you'll still enjoy it. It was not interested in world building as a primary thing, and that's a positive too. Yeah, definitely enjoyed this film. Liked it a lot. Any final thoughts?
I pretty much said it with saying, check it out. Go ahead. You really need to give it a shot. Um, yeah, this is great.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Pope's Exorcist, Russell Crowe, and I have to say Frank O'Neill as well in a very small role for you older watchers of films. A lot of fun. Check it out. If you like Megan, you'd like this. If you just want to have a little fun, it's cool too. I've not seen Evil Dead yet, so I'm thinking, wow, what a double feature that would be to see both of those. When's the last time that's happened on a horror thing? And that is a topic we'll talk about later here on the Extreme Movie Show too. Have a good night, everybody, including the frogs in chat. We'll see you guys later. Remember to stay extreme.